Welcome back, everybody. It's the Two Big Guys in Grover podcast. It is our conversation series of the podcast because the PBR is in town in Kansas City, our town. The Caterpillar Classic kicks off on what would be tonight, Saturday night, whenever you're listening to this. But Scott Grover, Cody Mcgee, Cris Welch. We are joined by number 4 in the world, Daylon Swearingen, and the newly crowned PBR Iron Cowboy, Cole Melancon. Hello, guys.
How are you?
It took me Crossett, Arkansas was the first time that I ever watched you ride, and you wouldn't remember it. But I had 3 guys come up and say, "How are you going to say this guy's name?" And I went, "I have no idea."
We had the same. How many times did you and I, when we first met, it was like, is it Melancon or Melancon or
It ain't said like it's spelled, I'll tell you that.
It's Melancon on paper, but that's not how you say it.
Did you get to go to recess? You know, like when you were little and you couldn't spell your name, you didn't get to go to a recess. Were you that way?
No, I could spell it.
You could spell it.
Yeah.
How many times was that butchered growing up? Can you count?
Well, growing up rodeo, and it wasn't too bad when I was younger because just local rodeos there. But once I started getting outside of my little youth rodeos, associations and stuff, it was my first year of pro rodeo, and it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was everything but Melancon, and they finally, I had some guys come up to me and ask me, "How do you say it? Like, how do you pronounce it?"
Yeah.
And I told them, and so they started. Boyd was one of the first guys to ask me, and I told him how to say it, and kind of told him the background, like it's French, and so then he started kind of overdoing it, like
Melancon.
he would really make a big deal out of it, but he's kind of cooled off on it now.
So we're literally with 2 of the fastest rising stars in the PBR, and I think we'll start with Cole and then go to Daylon. So, Cole, you win the college title, and then you kind of start to get on the radar of everybody. And Justin McBride picks you to go to Edmonton to be on the first Global Cup team. We all know how that turned out. That was what an amazing event that was.
Yeah, it was.
Then
you
you didn't come to the PBR.
No, but he was going to the NFR right then, though.
Yeah, you qualified for the NFR the same year as
like
you
you
won
were
the college
just
finals.
Same year I won the college finals.
You went to the NFR.
I went to the NFR that year, and the year before that I just barely missed
it.
Make gun the NFR.
And I think everybody thought at that time, hey, this guy's here to stay.
After the Global, I thought he was staying
at
PBR.
the Global Cup. He was going to be
way.
part of the PBR.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, what? You go back in your rodeo, which was great. I think, looking back, and I think you looking back, it was a good move for you. And then now you had that same opportunity again, and you capitalized on it. Why did you not come to the PBR, though, the first time?
Like you said, I just kind of was focused on rodeoing. The only reason I went to the PBR deal, to the Velocity Finals that year, is because they invited me because I won the college finals. Hadn't had my PBR card. Haven't even thought about going to a Velocity event or anything like that. And they called and said, you're invited if you want to come. All you got to do is buy your card. So I was like, shoot, I'll come. So I bought my card and went, and then kind of they had the Global Cup, and they were digging for guys pretty much.
I would not even
not
say
true
that.
They were needing.
That's
Well,
not-
they did. I mean, they didn't have anybody else. I mean, they went all the way to me that's never been to a PBR event, and it wasn't just that, but I mean, Cooper kind of stuck his. I mean, I grew up with Cooper and them around in that area, and I mean, a lot of guys were hurt, and then some guys just straight up didn't want to go. After 2 days after the PBR finals, they didn't want to go.
I was going to
up
say, I
there and
remember
get
the
on.
conversation, though, of Justin saying, Coop says this kid is real.
Yep.
There's more guys on the list, but Cooper, he was vouching for you, saying,
Yeah.
no, this kid can really ride ranked bulls. Let's put him on our team.
Yeah.
And so that was the difference.
And Cooper called me, and I was at a funeral. I just left a funeral, and I was over at the family's place just hanging out, and he called, and I didn't have service in the house, so when I got outside to leave, finally got my girlfriend to leave, I was like, all right, I had enough. Like, let's go. So we were leaving, and I got his text, and I called, and he was like, if you want to come, you're on the, you can be on the team, whatnot, just, I need a yes or a no. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And he's like, all right, well, Justin will be calling you. So I was kind of hanging around there because I was in Louisiana. And well, I was living in Hillsboro at the time because of school, and but we were out for a break or something. I guess Christmas break or Thanksgiving break or around that time. So I had all my stuff done at my mom's down by Houston. So, and we were actually heading back towards Hillsboro, and I was hoping that he would call because I needed to turn around and go the opposite way.
That's what I remember, because when you got there, you were the last guy for Team USA to arrive, because you like had to go get your stuff, get on a plane,
He called
and
me.
get to Canada.
He called me
that
Tuesday at lunch or right, a little after lunch, and I told him, yeah, I'll do it, and he was like, I was like, when is it? And he's like, it's Friday, Saturday, blah 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 blah, and I was like, sweet, all right, like I got a few days, I got to get I'll get my stuff, I'll get my flights bought, and I'll be there Friday morning. He's like, no, I need you there tomorrow night.
That's what it was.
And I was like, well, he's like, well, I need you there tomorrow. And I was like, well, I can't get there tomorrow. I said, I had a slip disc in my back. I said, I have to go to the doctor in the morning and get this injection. I have to do it before I can do anything. And he was like, well, can you get a late flight and come tomorrow night? And so I was like, yep, I can do that. So I made her turn around, go back the other way. I booked flights.
A change of direction.
Went and packed bags, drove all night to Dallas, got back to Dallas because my doctor's appointment was there. Went to my doctor's appointment, got the injection, got on a plane, went to Canada.
Wow.
And Daylon's yours was kind of similar. I mean, you were college champion, and then all of a sudden you're
the National High School bareback riding champion.
Yeah.
Well, that's because of his background. I mean, his family's rodeo, though. I mean, that's why.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're the same way. Then all of a sudden you're at a PBR, then you're at the World Finals, then you're at the Canadian Finals, and then you're at the NFR this year, all in 2019.
Yeah, it was a lot of traveling. That's for sure.
How many bulls do you think you got on last year?
I think like just over, right around 200.
Yeah, you weren't taking any days off. I mean, you
No.
were literally, and what was cool about what you did, and you told Sean Gleason, as the CEO of the PBR, when you got on tour, my first priority is going to be to my college rodeos. I told my coach I was going to, and you would go to a college rodeo on Friday, and you even missed an event on the UTB last year because of a college rodeo, and that shows one thing right there. That's a pretty stand-up guy, and I appreciate that the PBR appreciated that from you, because it sure would have been easy to say, yeah, but I
Tough
can make a
shit.
heck of
Tough-
a lot more
yeah.
money over here, So that was cool. But what brought you to doing that, I guess?
Probably because my coaches helped me in like so many ways, like to get the mentality, and so many other people have already helped me, but he just kind of helped me excel it, and he gave me the opportunity to kind of live in Texas for a little while and to kind of get out of New York, and I kind of needed to get out of New York just because, like, you can win and make money up there, but once you get out here, like, I didn't know you could go to a rodeo every single day, and I didn't know anything like that, and then I thought like 2,500 added rodeo was
A big
good-sized
deal.
rodeo,
Yeah.
and now you get out here.
Cole's
It's like,
smirking.
I know.
Well, because you guys have a lot of weekly rodeo series in the Northeast, and then your biggest regular season rodeo in the PRCA is probably Gary, New York.
Yeah.
And that's a $5,000 added rodeo.
yeah, 5,000. I think it's 8 now, but yeah.
And now, shoot, guys won't go to a pro. I mean, you'll drive by a $5,000 rodeo to go to a $10,000 rodeo and won't even think about that $5,000 rodeo. But you had to go to those when you live up in that part of the country.
Yeah, and that's kind of all you, like, I just never really knew. And then once I started getting out here and stuff, like, I know the first year I started going, like, on my permit, I had, like, was driving a little Prius and traveling with a bronc rider, and we had, like, New York's license plates are yellow, and every time we pulled up to a rodeo, they'd be like, what are you doing down here? Like, they
New York City. Yeah. New York.
Are you still going to school now?
I'm still going to school, yeah.
Because you were at a college rodeo 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, 2 weeks,
Yeah.
a week ago, yeah.
A week ago. Where was that at?
That was in Sulphur Springs, Texas.
And then you jumped on a flight and went to UTB, didn't you?
Yep, on the
Yeah.
next one.
Hey, not to bring up a negative, not at all, but how'd you do at that college rodeo?
That college rodeo, I was 74 in the bareback riding. Then I was second in the long round, and then fell off my bronc and was 89 in the bull riding and won the long round.
Okay, so my point of that is that bull riding is so competitive even though it's not a huge, big money added, there's guys that even the best in the world class bull riders, I say the world class, the top in the PBR, top in the NFR, all that kind of stuff, can still get on somewhere and buck off, right? It's not 100%.
Yeah, that's the
what I'm
first time
trying
I
to say.
got points at a college rodeo. Like, I went to 2 other events. There's 10 events throughout the year, and I went to 2 in the fall and fell off everything.
Well, we watched Jess Lockwood at the high school finals, the year he came out, and he had won Billings. I think that was the big one, right? He won Billings.
He won Billings on tour of the UTB, and then he won the deal on tour and got to high school finals and
high school
bucked off 2 out of his 3 or something.
Yeah. And everybody's like, oh, he should be. Well, yeah, everybody expects that, and that's good. But the reality is can't be.
That's the whole reason I didn't go back to college for a third time.
For a third time.
Yeah. Because I went my first year and made the college finals and got my butt handed to me there, and then I went back the second year when I won the college finals, and Paul was like, hey, you can rodeo one more year. You come back. What's better than one title, too?
He said, dude, I'm out.
I was like, Paul, I made the NFR, and I won the college finals, and I made the NFR this year. If I come back, I have to ride every single bull they run underneath me. I said,
if
no.
not, it's going to be,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not doing it.
So, Daylon, are you going to many pro rodeos this year, Daylon?
I'm going to go to some pro rodeos and then kind of see how the American goes and then go from there.
Right. And Cole, you've pretty much been hitting it hard since the beginning of the year. And do you guys find out that the more bulls you get on during the course of the year, the better that you end up staying? Because you've been like literally, you went to Cassini.
Absolutely not.
You went to all of these rodeos.
It's really tough on your body.
But is it starting to wear you out a little bit? You were in Fort Mojave last night.
Yeah.
Here today.
Right now it's not too bad because it does get pretty tiring. It gets pretty tiring, but it's not too terribly bad right now.
That's because he has a pocket full of Benjamins.
That $100,000 helped.
Benjamins.
Yeah, that's helping him right now. He's like, yeah, I can get on again.
Hey,
so,
Daylon, Daylon ain't
that's
doing
what I'm
too
saying.
bad.
That's my point.
Yeah.
But it is easier when you're winning.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, you can get through the 2 hours of sleep when you're winning.
Well, that's what it makes those. When you're winning, you can kind of pick and choose where you go. You don't have to just be like, well, it ain't been very good. I need the points or I need the money, so I have to go here to get on a bull here that I really don't want to go get on, but I have to try, But when you're winning and things are going good, you can just kind of pick and choose. And
That was echoed
at least
last night.
rodeoing you can.
That was echoed
That's
last
true,
night, at the WCRA. You talk about those guys were winning $50,000 checks. $50,000, and they were each saying,
life-changing money.
This changes my year. It takes the pressure off.
Well,
now I'm not scrambling.
Daylon,
and I can take a breath.
Yeah, when you went from the PBR finals to PBR Canada and then turned around went to the NFR, winning PBR Canada, the money that you won there, that was a huge difference for you.
Yeah, that was a big difference. It kind of sucks when you bring it back over here and it's not. but yeah.
That dang exchange rate. The Brazilians were happy with that because they were like, hey, it's worth
4 to 1.
Yeah, he goes, I can buy 4.5 Cokes to 1 up here. And I'm like, hey. But no, you won a good chunk of money, though, up there going into your NFR. You didn't have a great NFR.
No.
It was your first time there. And
Yeah.
It is a lot to take in.
Yeah.
It is 10 days of rodeo. You'll contest. It's different than being at the PBR World Finals, too. It's not, they're nowhere. People always say, oh, they're the same. No, it's not the same. It's not even close to the same. And then to have those two in the middle, but rodeoing is so much different because you guys are rodeo kids versus like Jose, who's strictly bull riding. He doesn't know. If you said, hey, Jose, let's go rodeo, he wouldn't know what that means because it means like you said, I jumped in with a bronc rider and I was going, and there's that, last night the WCRI was here and you've got bulldoggers, team ropers, and calf ropers all hauling in the same trailer last night. So it makes it a different. The barrel racers, so for a bull rider, they show up, they're just there to ride bulls. And that's the wear and tear going back to that. Your wear and tear is different because you can get on a plane, show up. You are getting on the rankest bulls in the world. I totally understand. But it's different than spending 12, 13, 15 hours in a truck, getting out, trying to stretch, eating at a convenience
But it hadn't
store.
been that long ago that these guys were doing
That's what I'm
exactly
saying.
that.
They're still in rodeo shape. though.
Exactly
That's what
that.
there's-
I'm still doing it.
You're staying in rodeo shape though,
Yeah.
versus the guys that are on tour that aren't doing it. Because I promise you, Jess has not ever done the 15-hour, 20-hour stretches in the trucks, driving back and forth from one coast to
Driving
another.
New Mexico to Virginia, back
Yeah.
to Washington,
It's
down
a
to
different,
Texas.
It's a different mentality, a different deal. So I have a question outside of that. Did you guys play any sports that were not rodeo growing up?
When I was little, I played pretty much every sport. And then as I went on junior high, I played football, basketball. High school, I realized that basketball wasn't my sport because I was so small. But I loved football. I played football all the way till I graduated.
Where'd you grow up?
In a little small town called Dayzetta, Texas.
Dayzetta?
Dayzetta.
And where's that close to?
It's like Liberty, Texas, Beaumont.
Where's
There.
Liberty? No, yeah, I got you.
Liberty, Houston. I get
Yeah.
around that area.
'Kay.
A little small, like 1A. We're more like a half a A. Like we were almost.
Almost
No,
a.
Almost a
Oh,
high
We're
school.
between half and almost a.
That's where I went to school. Was a half a A.
Yeah, half an A.
Like we
How
were
about you?
borderline on 11-man football team. Like we
Yeah,
barely had enough kids to do it. But
like 12.
No, I mean,
Scott
we
had
had
11
a
people in his graduating
We had a
class.
few.
And 8-man football.
Yeah.
We had a few more than that, but it was just if we lost anybody, we were screwed.
Yeah. How about you,
Daylon, what about
Daylon?
you?
I just pretty much wrestled my whole. all
I
the
can
way
see
up.
that.
So.
Were you a youth wrestler too, like little, like
Yeah, we went to wrestling tournaments all winter long, and then because it was kind of the only sport that we could do because my family owned a rodeo company, so we were
so
always
you're a stock
busy.
contractor
Yeah,
kid?
Yeah, and so that was the only thing we did in the wintertime was wrestle.
That's wrestle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about that. Growing up as a stock contractor's kid, how you go at rodeo different than somebody that's not, because there is a big difference. And I say that a lot. Being a stock contractor's, growing up as a stock contractor kid, we see rodeo different than most people see rodeo.
Yeah, you can kind of like you respect it a little bit more than them because nobody else knows what all goes into it, and especially being from the Northeast where we have to set up the arena, and we have where we brought everything from the buck and stock to the timed event to everything, and we just kind of it's just a lot to respect. And if you see somebody at the rodeo that needs help, then you kind of just you go do it without any questions. You just kind of help out a little bit more because
Versus that's not my job. It's all your job, right?
Yeah.
As a stock contractor's kid, though, that's exactly right. I mean, you show up, you not only have to be, you learn that the committees that you're there with, you hang out with the committees.
Yeah.
Every town you're in, you learn their families because you become part of their rodeo family. Because those people are taken off from their days at work, their time off from their real life, and so you spend a time with them, and then you also are taking care of the stock, not just while you're at the rodeo, but when you get home, because you think, oh, I got 4 days off. No, you don't really have 4 days off. Because you're going to go home and you're going to sort, you're going to reset stock, you're going to figure out what horses you're sitting in, so that it's a constant process. Next thing you know, you're loading and you're going to the next rodeo. And it's like, oh yeah, plus I'm competing. I'm going. Make sure you enter me.
Because you were competing a lot that you guys were putting on, right? You went ahead and competed.
Yeah, I did compete.
I'll tell you why he's a bareback rider, because when you're short on bareback riders,
Throw your kid
stock
in.
contractors' kids get to make to do everything.
Yeah,
It's
actually,
paying off now.
Yeah.
Is that true or not?
Yeah, it is. I actually rode broncs before I rode barebacks
Yeah.
because we didn't have any horse riders, and my dad didn't want me to start getting that arm jerked on, so I didn't ride bareback horses. So I rode broncs when I was younger, and then kind of started riding both, and then I was riding everything. But yeah,
Hey, we're short a bulldogger. Make sure you just you don't have to get down. Just run by him. At least.
Yeah. Make it look right.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Cole, what other events have you done?
Team rope. That's about all I've done.
Yeah.
I've
Did you
never
grow up in a
tried.
rodeo family?
Not road. They didn't rodeo.
They didn't rodeo?
No, I mean, a few of my cousins, they tried to, they tried to team rope, and all my family ropes.
Yeah.
My stepdad, that whole side of the family, my grandpa,
whole
my
side.
mom's dad, he's big time. Like he told me when I was my freshman year of high school, and I started riding bigger bulls, and I got stomped pretty good one day, and I was all limping around at his house, and he told me, he was like, why don't you just quit this crap? Quit. And I was like, nah, I can't. I like it. I like it. Bull riding's like, it's cool. Like that's what I want to do. And he was like, nah, you're not gonna make a living out of it. Like, they weren't very. Him and my grandma, they weren't very supportive at first. They're behind me 100% now that I'm making a
Did you
good living
Did you
out
say,
of it.
have you ever heard of the Iron Cowboy? That would be me.
And but he was, he was like, just rope, you rope too good to waste it, you know. And I was like, I don't want to rope. Like, roping's boring. And he was like, look, you just bring that bull rope to my house and you cut it up right here in front of me. I'll take you and go buy you a truck and a trailer and give you the best 2 horses and pay for everything if you'll just rope.
And he was serious.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
And
That's
told
cool,
me I
though.
could pick whatever truck and trailer I wanted, or whatever trailer I wanted, and if his truck couldn't pull it, he'd get me a truck to pull it.
Speaking of trucks, now that you're Iron Cowboy, tell the world, what'd you get? You got a new 12 valve the other day, didn't you?
Yeah. I got it before I went there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm trying to sell one too, so y'all buy it.
If they saw it, they'd want it. I
Yeah,
guarantee it.
absolutely. But so going back to that, making the adjustment, Iron Cowboy, you bucked off, didn't think you were in.
Yeah, I bucked off my third round bull, and was it 12? They went 12.
That was the 8 man.
Eight
Yeah.
man. So, and I was walking behind the chutes, and Daylon was there, and he handed my hat, and he was just giving me that goofy little look he always gives everybody right there. And I was like, well, I tried, you know, and we were kind of talking about what happened, and
He was letting you off the hook, letting you kind of deal with it, right?
yeah, well, I mean, he was just kind of sitting there, and I was like, well, I tried, you know, I made it this far, you know, I've had 2 good first rounds
Mm-hmm.
for my debut. I was like, I'm not mad about it, you know, it's not horrible. I said I could have came in here and not rode anything, and he was like, you know, he goes, well, it ain't over yet, you know, anything can happen. And I was like, yeah, well,
Is that what you really said that to him?
I said
yeah,
that.
I really did. And
Oh,
he's
wow.
like, it ain't over, like anything can happen. And I was like, yeah, well, I don't want to wish that on anybody, you know. So I
Right.
grabbed my hat and turned around and walked off. Went to the locker room, cleaned my bull rope up, just taking my spurs off, untaped, unwrapped my groins. And I just like, man, I was like, I'm going to walk out there and check and see what's going on, you know, see who's going into the
Final
man
4.
round.
Yeah.
And as soon as I walked out of the locker room, Ryan was standing right there, and I could tell he was hurting. And Tandy was doing some tests with him, and he was pushing on his head. Like, at first he looked fine, but he started cramming down on his head, and he kept telling he was fine. I'm good, I'm fine. And I was like, well, he's pretty tough. Like, I think he's gonna be all right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, he crammed down on his head pretty good, and it hurt him, and he was like, I ain't gonna lie, like, I'm hurting. That hurt. I don't know if I'm gonna. So I was like, I started running around asking questions like, did he stay on? Like, or did he buck off or what? They're like, no, he got a score. So I ran back in the locker room, started just to be safe. I started putting my spurs on, and I was putting my spur on, like put my other spur on, and Lambert come running in there, and he was like, hey, if Ryan's out, you're in. So I was like, all right, I'll be ready. So I put my spur on, started taping, put some rosin on my rope, and somebody else come in there as soon as I got done doing that, and he was like, he's out, you're in. We got 3 minutes and we're starting. So I was like, all right. So luckily,
Let's go.
Yeah, Ezekiel was sitting in there, and he was actually about to walk out there, and I hollered at him, take my rope and go put it on my bull, and I'll be out there in a minute. So I hurried up and taped, put my growing wrap back on, and ran out there. And technically I was supposed to go first, but they was like, well, what happened? They was like, we'll buck you last to give you a few minutes. So they did. They bucked 2 guys, commercial break, and then whoever was in front of me, and then me, and I was the only guy to ride in the 4-man. So that moved me to number 1 in the average, which I didn't know because they done it backwards in the 2-man.
Yeah.
They done number 1 guy goes first and number 2 guy goes second for TV purposes. But you know, rodeoing or any bull riding you go to, it's always
Worst first.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, I have to stay on this bull to win. I have to stay on this bull to win it. And when I bucked off about 7.5 seconds, and I was like, oh well. I was standing right there by Lambert, and I was like, well, it wasn't too bad of a weekend. And he's like, oh heck no, you won a lot of money still. And I walked out, was just about to take off, walk into the locker room, and Sean was standing right there, and he was like, "Hey, don't go nowhere. If he bucks off, you won it." And I was like, "Dude, what?" Like,
What?
I was like, "Yeah, I fell off," and he was like, "Yeah, no, you're winning it." And they were trying to explain to me, so I started taking my stuff off and setting it down up out of the way, and he nodded and come out. And about 3 seconds, he got bucked off, and I was just kind of like watching the big screen. I was like, and everyone comes running down the chutes, like slapping me and pushing me around and stuff.
Hey,
And
wait
I'm
a minute,
like,
what happened? What happened?
exactly. I was like, and I looked up at Sean. I was like, "Did I win?" And he was like, "Heck yeah, go get your buckle."
Speaking of Sean and winning, when you won PBR Canada, you and Sean got what was the blankets you guys got?
They symbolize something from the Native American tribe that was up there. That like were welcomed in
That tribe?
yeah, anytime.
Did you guys ever see that?
No.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
when
I saw the picture. Yeah.
Yeah, when he won PBR Canada, the tribe up there took he and Sean Gleason, CEO, and gave him these big blankets.
Big blankets.
Is it?
They're huge.
And like I'm up there sweating. I'm like,
Take the picture. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, he's trying to take a picture. That's what. Yeah, Sean's looking down at him, and he has sweat rolling off his forehead. And let's talk about support groups, because I know both you guys have big support groups. Cole, you've got a little one at home, and your support group at home is top notch. I mean, she's right behind you all the time. And Daylon, your mom and your dad and your aunt.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you've got a support group that follows you.
Did I hear right that your mom and dad either have sold off some of the events or
They sold out completely, right?
they sold out?
Yeah.
And why did they do that?
Because it's just a lot up there, and then me and my brother both moved away, and
Yep.
we're working on our own goals, and
Right.
then, so that was one of the big ones.
Yeah. But
And they
part
could
of it
co-
was
and
so
they
they
could
could
come
follow
watch.
you.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and say that. That's kind of what I was getting at.
Yeah.
That that they were able to do that.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
And-
Were you disappointed in that, or were you okay with that?
I wasn't disappointed. No, I mean I enjoyed growing up, and I'm thankful for the opportunities that it gave me. But I think it's
Hell of a
for the
lot more
best.
work than riding bulls.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't want to carry it on or anything like that.
I did, but not right now.
Yeah,
No.
you can always go back, right?
Yeah.
And Cole, your little one, how old is now?
Turned 2 in January.
2.
Yeah.
We actually have a pretty cool picture as Hunter X
Absolutely.
with her as
Yeah.
a baby. I don't know how old she was. Just a
She
couple
was a
days.
newborn,
Yeah,
yeah, and
just
she
a
was.
couple days.
We done a
Inside the helmet.
laid completely inside.
Yeah,
She,
Yeah.
it is
she
beautiful.
fit inside the whole. Like she was that small.
Yeah. It's
It
one of
was
our
pretty
favorite
cool.
pictures
I
as
just
a
got
company. We
goosebumps
see it
talking
all the
about it.
time, and like, oh, there's a
I
picture
carry
of
it.
her.
I pull it out
Yeah.
in my.
But I
my
saw her
phone
Global
and-
Cup, and she was all dressed up, had her
Yeah.
little USA outfit on. So
Yeah, she's getting big. She's
she was cheering you on.
wild. She's a handful.
Yeah.
And Daylon, no kids.
No kids.
No kids.
Well,
to
he doesn't have time for kids right
I
now.
know.
To say the least, for you two, 2020 is pretty stinking good so far. I mean, you guys really you've stepped to the forefront. You're both in a world title talk right now. You know, I mean, I know it's still early in the year, but a little bit. Who do you think is the toughest bull rider out there in the PBR? If you take your guys' self out of the conversation, who is the toughest guy going right now?
As far as tough to beat or just tough?
Overall. Give me two. Give me the tough and the toughest to beat.
I'm probably gonna go with Jess and Jose.
Yeah, those two. I mean, those two are hard to beat.
What
For
makes them
sure.
hard to beat?
They're just very. They're
Other than the
consistent.
obvious.
They're
Yeah, I
consistent.
get that.
You know,
Yeah.
they stay on everything, and they make it count when it needs to. When it needs to. And that's kind of where I feel like I've been lacking in the past, and that I've just finally started stepping up to the plate. And I mean, I make the short round a lot,
Mhm.
but I never stepped up. Like I never stepped up when it came down to the short round. And I feel like this past year I've kind of. I mean, I don't really know what I've done or what I changed, but I don't know if it was just missing the NFR and kind of lit a fire under me or what it was.
Is
But
it kind of that click in your head though that I belong here, that I'm
Yeah.
good enough to be here, because I think I really feel at this level, because I watch a lot of guys from the Velocity Tour move up a week and they get starstruck, they go back down, and then they come back and they stay. And Mason Taylor was one of those guys. When he came the first time, he was starstruck and just being Mason, and he didn't make it.
Yeah.
Well, then but then he figured out, ooh, I want to be there, and now I'm good enough to be there.
Yeah.
But it is kind of that in your mind too, that you finally belong.
Yeah, I mean, there was like that time, like I said, like when I almost made the NFR in 2016, I never really saw myself being good enough to hang with those guys, like being with Cody Teal and Sage and all those guys that were in the top every year. And there in May, I won Redding, California, and Vernal in the same weekend, and that jumped me from wherever I was at in the standings to 21st in the world. And I was like, oh, dang,
Hey, so
I
this
can do this.
this leapfrog thing isn't new to you. You know what I'm saying? Because the same thing with the PBR with your event,
Yeah.
you went from 29th
Mm-hmm.
to 6th,
Yeah.
right? So that's that click, that mechanism. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, you're just doing you, and it just happens. You know, it kind of naturally progressive. Is that?
Yeah, and then whenever I got up there, I was like, man, I can hang with these guys. Like, I'm no different than they are. They're no different than I am. And it went on, and I got hung with 21st for a long time. By the end of the year, 25th is where I got, and I wasn't going down, but I couldn't go up. Like, I could not move up. And when I was really upset about it, and I told myself, I was like, I'll make the NFR next year. I'm going to make the NFR next year. And I started rodeoing as soon as the new year started, October 1st. I started rodeoing, and I rodeoed pretty hard that year. And when I started, from October 1st till I made the NFR, I stayed in the top 15 all year long. I didn't. I was winning the world all the way until almost summertime, and the stage decided to start rodeoing. So
Let's talk about that real quick. Let's talk about, because you guys are rodeo guys, and we don't talk about it a lot on the other side, is the relationship with you guys and Sage. Because people always think that they, on this side, they're always like, Sage, and they push him away. But it's not really that way. Because you
Yeah.
show up at a rodeo, and I've seen Sage pull your rope and things like that. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a different relationship with Sage.
Sage is really loving me year before last at the finals. If it wasn't for me to stay on, it was going to be a close race for his world title. But
Things get a little itchy now, right?
yeah, yeah, I get a lot. You get a lot of people, even fans, even family. Some of my family at home, they ask, how is that Sage? How's Sage? Or like, how is that guy? Like, he seems like a butthole, or he seems like seems like he's cocky. We can't stand that. And I'm like, not really. He's not really like that. Like,
He's not, though.
No, I was like, he's pretty normal, I was like, but he's not. I said he can get he gets cocky, but he's got a reason to be cocky.
JB's cocky.
Yeah.
They have a reason. They have a
If you
reason
got
to be
everything
cocky.
to back it up, you can be a little bit cocky.
Right.
I was gonna say, I think it's more, it goes back to Chris Shivers that time when back when Chris Shivers was really in his prime. I mean, somebody said, "Man, you're cocky," and he looked at me and goes, "No, I'm just confident right now."
Yeah.
And that was that as he said, I see that mentality with you guys though too. That it's like, hey, you know what? I'll get on whatever they run underneath me.
Well, let me tell you what. Two guys that should be the most confident of anybody in the world right now, bull riding, are right here.
Yep.
And I think it's going to be an amazing weekend here in Kansas City. I'm looking forward to see what the year is going to bring out. I'm hoping that again we have one of the toughest races in PBR history coming down for a world title, and I hope you guys are a part of it. So, thank you for joining us today. We got a big day, big schedule ahead of us today with the Caterpillar Classic in Kansas City starting tonight. So, thank you guys for tuning into the podcast. There's going to be some more of these conversations with bull riders.
Yep.
Got some more guys coming in. So, thank you guys for joining us today, and thank you guys for listening.